seeing a lot of green on the pathways. It's that time of the year when the weeds and other little bits of green start popping out on the pathways. The summer months are behind us, and now the landscaping will change dramatically, starting with the first rain, and especially days like this when it's foggy. Good morning, agave lovers. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Lucas, and today it's all about the weather. And this is our first cold, foggy morning. We've had some cold days in the past for sure, especially when our first rains started. We did dip down into the high 30s, mid 30s actually. Today, right now, it's about 34, 35 degrees when I first stepped out. And it was even colder when I first woke up this morning. So the fog was a lot more dense than it is now. It has dissipated some, and it'll continue to dissipate probably right around lunchtime. But I wanted to come out this morning. I haven't had my coffee yet, so bear with me. But I wanted to get out here and show you the difference, especially from episodes past of, bright blue, sunny skies, t-shirt, hot weather. That wasn't very long ago. That was just a few weeks ago. And here we are. It's almost December 1st. Is it December? It might be December 1st. And we are experiencing our first real foggy morning. And in episodes past, the greenhouse episode that we recently talked about, we talked about the winter covers that we put on. And those winter covers help us mitigate the problems that some of these plants can experience in these winter months. And I talked about the difference between agaves in ground, such as these behind me, and agaves that are in pots. And what is the difference? Well, I talked about that in the context of the greenhouse, standing in front of potted agaves. This time I wanted to kind of talk about the same thing, but in my front yard with in-ground agaves. And we have this agave Titanota white ice. And when we are talking about what kind of conditions are necessarily not favorable for agaves, I'm not talking about necessarily the plant itself and what kind of exposure these leaves are experiencing in these kind of temperatures. I'm talking more about what's going on under with the soil and the roots. The agaves in the yard, not so much now, but I like to have about at least 1 to 2 inches of inorganic mulch on these plants. And typically in the past, it's always been about a 1/4 inch granite. But I've done so much work in the yard the last year and a half that I haven't been able to import more soil, more mulch, inorganic mulch in. Typically I'll have the nurseries dump a few yards of gravel and rocks and things in the driveway, and then I'll wheelbarrow them out and place on the agaves. But I've done so much work on these that the dirt that I've added to the agaves themselves and moving things around, it's kind of just mixed in at this point. So the reason why I'm talking about the mulch and the topsoil is because that is very critical when it comes to this kind of weather. It can serve a couple of purposes, especially in the summertime where it's trapping the important moisture. It's reflecting the heat back into the atmosphere, and it is preventing the root ball from drying out in the summer months. In the winter, it's creating a protective barrier against this kind of weather where it's not allowing a lot of that moisture to get down and to stay in the roots. It's keeping the roots warm. It's keeping the soil below the surface warm. And that's critical when you are dealing with Northern California temperatures that will prolong periods of time, dip down 32, 33, 34, mid 30s, low 30s, and then you'll get days upon days of foggy weather where the dew point is such that it's going to pretty much soak the top surfaces. But these roots are, 6 to 20 inches below ground. When you're talking about the big ones, it's even more. But for the most part, agaves, they go down, and then most of the root ball will be kind of under the plant. So if you have a plant that's this big, that's about the size of the root ball. A small plant like this, that's about the size of the root ball. And that's how you can really gauge how big these roots are. I'm not talking about the rhizomes, the white fleshy subsurface. A lot of times people will call them roots. I even accidentally call them roots sometimes. The word rhizome doesn't naturally come to my head immediately. So the rhizomes are what the pups that will eventually emerge, that's what they're connected to. And they look like just these white, fleshy, long roots. And they'll travel parallel to the ground until they find a nice place to pop out. And we're not talking about those. We're talking about the actual roots, the things that drink water, the things that help stabilize the plant and keep it still. So when they are out in the yard like this, they're not staying moist. They're not staying cold and wet, and that's not going to be affecting the plant. However, in the context last time of the greenhouses, the potted agaves, especially like the 1 gallon containers that I have, it's just a small volume of dirt. And that soil is coming into contact with the cold plastic as well. So when these plants get wet and the soil gets wet, they tend to stay wet. They can stay wet for days, weeks, even an entire season, especially if they're in a place where they're constantly being exposed to conditions like this. So it is important, very critical, to get some of those plants out of the yard and covered in a greenhouse, which we did a couple weeks ago. Some of the plants, like this one right behind me, which is the reason why we're standing in front of it, this one is going to do fine anywhere. It's going to do fine in full sun, partial shade, out in the wintertime, out in the summertime, in a pot in a greenhouse, in a pot outside of a greenhouse. You can't really kill these things, which is why they pup like crazy, and I have so many of them. Isn't it always like that? It seems like the plants that proliferate the most do the best. It would be nice if my rare variegated stuff, like my rare variegated Perrii truncata that we just potted or planted, I should say, if that thing produced as many pups as the Americana behind me, that'd be great. But maybe it wouldn't be so rare, I mean, it's keeping its numbers down. And it is a cultivar of which that that when we recognize the beautiful variegation, we're gonna separate those, pick those out, and that essentially is a cultivar. It's when we remove a special plant from its context, and it has unique features, unique properties that sets it apart from the average of its own plant, of its own species. So this Titanota right here, this is going to do fine anywhere. But back to the agaves in the greenhouse, those we're not going to encounter the potential danger from this kind of weather when they're covered with the winter covering now. But you will see in my backyard that I have plenty of agaves outside of the greenhouse. Well, why am I not protecting those? Well, it's because I've learned over the years that some of those plants don't care if it's cold or hot or anything like that. They're fine where they are. So some of those plants are outside of the greenhouse, and then my more rare, the things that are more special to me, those are what I keep in the greenhouse covered. And it's also, I've mentioned this before, it's a space issue. So the nicer the agave, the more important to me, then the better I'm going to take care of it. And that's just probably how every plant person is. They're going to put their favorite plants where they can see them all the time, where they get the best light, that sort of thing. So that's no different here. That's no different with these agaves. And now I've mentioned in the past before how we do have problems with other succulents that are in the yard this time of the year. And sometimes it is necessary to cover those. And I had spent, I think, 4 winters covering my euphorbia, my variegated euphorbia mock, that I did have as a centerpiece right over here. It might be off camera, but right back there. I've showed that process a bit. And I removed that because that would go through such a process of having to put, I love these certain brand of pickles, and they come in a little clear bucket. I take those buckets and put them on the ends of the branches of the euphorbia, and then I cover it in winter plant cover. And that was such a long and dreadful process that I'd have to make room up here, and I'm starting to have less and less room for me to walk around and do that. I've got Agave Black and Blues, Agave Macrocanthas, Agave Otirii, Agave Titanota Lion's Maids, Agave Purpuseums, Parasanas, you name it, it's over there on that mound right over here. And I can't really get in there to do the work that I need to do. And the euphorbia is getting so tall that I need a ladder now. So it was time to take that out, get it onto my porch. But I think today I am going to have to back that up closer to my front door because it is still exposed. Right now it's in a position where it's perfect for the summer months where it's still getting a lot of light, overhead light. But right now it's starting to be exposed to these kind of conditions, and we don't want that. So I'm going to back that up so it's a little bit sheltered, a little bit more protected from the wind and rain and fog. And it should be fine without covering. And that's what I'm going to try to do this winter. I'm hoping to get through the whole winter without having to cover my euphorbias. I do have a few in the yard, and they have been up and down with respect to their health. Maybe I can show you that when I just do my quick walkthrough at the end. But I have variegated and non-variegated euphorbia that a mock that typically in the winter time when we get really prolonged days like this, cold, wet, rainy, moist days, they really start to rot on their tops if I don't cover them. And I really don't want to have to do this sort of thing every winter. So I'm kind of seeing what plants I can leave alone and what plants I do have to take care of. If I have to take care of them in a way that will require me to get on a ladder year after year and do this, I may not keep them in the landscaping. So that is sort of the point of this year. I'm not going to winterize anything, and we're going to see what survives, what starts to have some problems, and we'll go from there. So most of the plants are quite mature now. So we're not really talking about something that is young and hasn't acclimated yet to the conditions. They've been here. So since they have been here, then it's going to be a good time to see how they do in the long term. So I want to thank you again for tuning in. Just a short video today, but before I let you go, I will do a bit of a garden tour to kind of show you what the agaves look like in this kind of lighting. And we'll just do a quick tour, starting with this side here, coming down this path here. And I have to clean up the pathway. It is quite messy from all the wind and rain that we've gotten recently. Here's an olive tree and Agave Montana, strided Agave Americana. Some nice stuff in here. Hurried, big old Americana. This is the longleaf variety here. I forget the name exactly, but it's quite nice, but it's getting rather large for this spot here. Another beautiful euphorbia here. I forget the name. This is going to be a really pretty Americana, strided when it gets large. And we have the strided blue glow that I had to move recently, and it likes its new spot here under the Texas sage. And the Kalamata olive tree, and another Agave Montana, ovatifolia or whale's tongue agave, And here are the euphorbia that I was talking about, the amocks that aren't doing so well. They've been in ground for several years, but this is the time of the year that they don't really prefer. So here's a view of this side here of the pathways leading up to the house. I put these pathways in because they do remind me of my childhood and all the trails that I used to play in as a kid in Michigan. Here are some variegated blue glows. Blue glow, vatifolia, more variegated blue glows, and another. And here is that truncata, Hurried truncata, that I planted in my first planting video here. And it is bordered with the other truncata here at the corner. This one's been in ground for a couple of years. Here's the massive rostrata, Yucca rostrata. This thing grew way faster than I was told it would grow. And this is a nice area here. This gets a lot of sun exposure and the plants just do so well in this little spot. Another aloe, and here is the big euphorbia amok that I do have to move. I'm probably going to move it right here, and I'll move those over to here. And some of my favorites up here. I've got a black and blue that's just starting to come back from all the summer stress. This is the hybrid, the Tiho, which is Titanota and Horrida. And very fitting that I have a Horrida right next to it. Some cactus. And this is a Titanota lion's mane next to another black and blue. This is a beautiful one. Big teeth, Loterii, Purposorium, Macrocantha, Parasana, Titanota white ice. And here is the one that I just planted. And you may or may not see the video by now, but here it is. I just recorded the video on that, still editing. And that is a variegated Titanota, variegated Hurried truncata. And some of the plants in the back here. And oh boy, look at all this. All the green that is starting on the pathways. This is where it starts. It doesn't stop until it looks like a green velvet carpet. And there are a few others here. Lovely little shrubby tree here. And look at these beautiful, beautiful flowers. I can't remember the name offhand, but hopefully I can put it up so you can see. We'll circle out here back to the pathway. Come down here. And the reversed way, another manzanita. Shout out to OG Agave, where I got this beautiful cactus from. And one of my favorites landscaping is having Hurried truncata mixed in with golden beryl, which I've done here. And this is where I spent some time talking to you already. And you can see more green on the pathways. It's really starting to come out, really starting to show. One of my first videos here was removing the blue flames, a blue flame from here, and putting in this golden beryl to match this one here with on the pathway up. And it's just about time to put our the Christmas balls at the terminal spines on the tips of this Americana. Can't wait to show you that. And a desert willow here on the corner. This is going to be quite nice because it's going to really populate this area here, and it's going to grow up and populate this area up here. Behind that, we have another manzanita and the strawberry tree. And the strawberry tree will do the same thing. It's going to grow and populate this area here, which we're going to need more and more shade for these agaves and other desert plants that are exponentially growing in numbers. And back to the Palo Verde here. This was the first Palo Verde in the yard. And back to these beauties. Thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate that. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. That really helps out the channel. And thanks so much for tuning in and sticking with me. And we look forward to seeing you again real soon. Thanks, and have a great weekend or a week ahead. And be safe, everyone. Thanks.